Good evening. Well, here we are again for another after dinner pipe and coffee as I try to get situated here. And feeling kind of woodsy today. Got my plaid brawny, call it a brawny shirt, or brawny towel. Smoking something I've never smoked before. It was very dry. It was in my, Svenborg, my 9mm. It was sent to me by Jim, Midwest Pipe Smoke. And I need one more light in here, and it's got to be right behind me. It'll be perfect, you know? Because dim lights don't work for me. Unless, as the song says, dim lights, thick smoke, and loud music. It's called Wildman Crumble Cake, or Wildman English Crumble Cake, and it's a Seattle Pipe Club blend. Never heard of it. Comes in like a cake-like thing, you know. Now, I had this a while, so I don't know if it dried on its own or how it originally comes out. So, What can you say? What can you say? It is rainy, 40-some degree weather day today. So, I got the door closed, man. I talk about the history of the area quite a bit. And, I don't know if any of you watch NW Pipe Smoker, Tom. Tom does pretty good. Talks about the Indian tribes and the Puget Sound, and he's reading a couple books right now. And I'm really, really enjoying them. I really do. Let me move this over just a little bit. I might break the flashlight out. As a matter of fact, I think I am going to do that. It's hard to read. So, I did a field trip a while back, and it was down along the Susquehannock River. By the way, this is 9mm pipe, if I didn't tell you. It's the Svenborg I acquired. Beautiful pipe. Not a big Seattle Pipe Club fan, but it was okay. It's pretty good. Very dry. Doesn't have much of a room note, but not bad. Not bad. So, hey, expanding my horizons, you know? Someone invites you into their life shares something with you, you don't offend him. You enjoy it with him, you know? So anyhow, I talked about the Susquehannock Indians, right? That lived along the Susquehanna. They've long since been gone, centuries. And I found this stuff. I was reading up on them. I was looking for a book, and I found this. I thought this was interesting. So, if you'll bear with me, I'd like to read. And Tom, I hope you're watching because I know you're interested in this type of stuff. The Susquehannock tribe of the Northeast. This comes from a site called Legends of America, exploring history, destinations, people, and legends of this great country since 2003. And this was compiled by Kathy Weiser Alexander last year, February 2019. To give the credit out, okay? I'll put a link to that in the description box. It's pretty cool. So, I'll begin. The Susquehannock people, also called the Conestoga by the English, were an important Iroquoian-speaking tribe that formerly lived along the Susquehanna River and its branches from the north end of the Chesapeake Bay. So if you know your geography, in Maryland, across Pennsylvania, into southern New York. So, okay, Maryland, Pennsylvania, New York, okay? Evidence of their habitation has also been found in northern West Virginia. Now, let me stop there real quick. I wanted to say something. We have the State Museum at our state capital, Harrisburg City. Not even 5 miles from my house. And they have a whole section dedicated to the Susquehannock Indians. So it's pretty cool. I used to go up there as kids and field trips and stuff. And then on rainy days and stuff like that. Back when going to museums was fun, and kids today, they just don't want to do it. Okay, so I'll read on. Their name, Susquehannock, is thought to have been an Algonquin word meaning the people of the muddy river. Susquehanna gets muddy, yeah. When it rains. Take a sip of coffee real quick before I read on. My Gettysburg coffee mug. Black, of course, it'll help me keep my throat clear. Okay. The name Susquehannock is thought to have been an Algonquin word meaning people of the muddy river. The Susquehannock was a confederacy of up to 20 smaller tribes who occupied fortified villages along the Susquehanna River. They traded with other tribes along the Erie River in northern Ohio and the Huron and the neutral people of southern Ontario, Canada. Think about the miles. Think about that. The Erie River, I mean, the traveling, right? Like other Iroquois tribes, they planted maize, beans, and squash in spring, and many of them temporarily moved south to the Chesapeake Bay in the summer to fish and gather shellfish, returning into the fall harvest their crops and hunt. They were an independent people and not a part of any confederacy into the 1600s. They were described as noble, heroic, aggressive, warlike, and imperialistic. For years, Europeans arrived. They were bitter enemies of the Iroquois Confederacy and were also thought to have warred with the Mohican from the central Hudson Valley. I didn't know that. Susquehannock war parties routinely attacked the Lenape tribes, never heard of them, along the Delaware River and traveled down the Susquehanna River, where they also raided the Nanticoke, the Kenoi, and the Powhatan living on the Chesapeake Bay when Europeans first arrived. And we'll skip on here. Their first European contact in 1608 was in 1608 when Captain John Smith, hey, we all know about him, from Jamestown, Virginia, was exploring the northern end of the Chesapeake Bay. This first meeting was friendly, but Smith was wary because he already heard of the Susquehannocks' warlike reputation. Smith was especially impressed with their size, deep voices, the variety of their weapons, and awed by their size, describing them as giants. So, if you look at now, and how through the ages, like George Washington was considered to be a tall man in colonial times. The Susquehannock, I'm skipping through, were once again at war with the powerful Iroquois Confederacy in 1658, and by 1661, the Maryland colonists and the Susquehannock expanded their peace treaty into a full alliance against the Iroquois. During the next several years, the Susquehannock repelled several attacks by the Seneca, Cayuga, and Onondaga warriors of the western Iroquois. The tribe reached their peak of power in the early 1670s and afterward began to decline due to the infectious diseases and continued warfare, drastically weakened by their losses. They were overwhelmed by their longtime enemies of the Iroquois Confederacy. By 1678, afterwards, some small groups fled into the Shawnee tribe. Others moved to New York, joining with the Seneca and Onondaga, who had a long tradition of adopting defeated enemies into their tribes. Others scattered, joining various tribes. By 1700, there were only 300 Susquehannock remaining, and the rapid decline continued until the last 20 were massacred by a mob of colonists in 1763. There are, however, no descendants among the Iroquois and Lenape today. How sad that there's no actual descendants left of the Susquehannock Indians. That's a real shame. I just thought that was interesting because I shared about the Susquehannock Indians in one of my other videos. And I find early American history to be fascinating, especially around the time of the colonies being started with Captain John Smith, who we all know from Pocahontas and all that, and the early settlers. I think one day we'll talk about William Penn, the founder of Pennsylvania and first governor. One of the things I learned at the Pennsylvania Military Museum was they talked about how back in those days the military were privatized. Okay, and to give you a little bit on William Penn, he was a Quaker, which they were a passive group of people, right? It took a while for William Penn to finally come around and put together a private army because he knew that it was the only other way if Pennsylvania was going to survive. So it's really neat. If you ever get to the Harrisburg area, and you can go to the Harrisburg Museum, it's a small museum, state museum. It's got a lot of artifacts in it, back to the Stone Age, all the way up to modern times. They've changed it. Um, they have a planetarium in there, which is really cool. I haven't been up in a while, and I think one of these days when I'm bored, I'll take a ride up. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of history on the Susquehannock Indians. Because I thought it was interesting. And I just wanted to talk about something different. But I also wanted to honor N.W. Pipe Smoker Tom and give a little something back to him. Because Tom, I know Tom enjoys good stories. Yeah. So, well, Jim, thank you for the Seattle Pipe Club Wildman English crumble cake. Um, I don't even know if they sell this anymore. I don't know. I'll look for it. English crumble cake. So, uh, I'm assuming that's in English. Because it don't taste like an aromatic. I'll tell you that right now. Wow. And then, last week, I did the Briar Pack taste test and sent a healthy dose. And I got it wrong. I did get it right. It was in English. Um, but to my surprise, I don't smoke a lot of GLPs. I'm becoming more of a fan of them. That this is GLP's Odyssey. So thank you, Mike at Briar Blues. It really challenged me to use my senses. My mistake was when I smelled it. It smelled a lot like early morning pipe. And I know Mike talked about don't let your eyes deceive you in a video recently. The same thing. I thought it looked like early morning pipe. So I thought it was early morning pipe. Thought he was making the first one easy, but he didn't. And thank you, Mike. You've taught me a lot about the art and the hobby of pipe smoking, so I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. Um, so I think I'm going to smoke some of the GLP's Odyssey. I'm done with the other stuff. But I'm going to smoke that in a pipe that I long desired to get and was first introduced to these kind of pipes from N.W. Pipe Smoker. And this one is in beautiful shape. It was restored wonderfully. I mean, it still looks brand new. I do not smoke a lot in it. It's got a huge bowl, folks. A huge bowl. Look at my finger. My thumb is not even, you know. So I don't smoke it a lot, but when I do, I enjoy the smokes that I have in it. So I'm gonna have some GLP's Odyssey in that, and this is a non-filtered pipe. I've thought about trying to turn this into a 9 mil, but I do not want to mess with this. I do not want to screw up this pipe. The you know, just don't want to do it because I like this pipe too much. Just a beautiful pipe. This is one that's in my collection. Of my collection of, rotational smoking pipes. So, thank you again for joining me. I appreciate you all very much. I'm going to pack my pipe. Oh, you're packing it all wrong. No. You pack your pipe the way you pack your pipe if it smokes right. I pack all my pipes differently. These big pipes, big bowls, I pack them differently. Some of the other ones, I actually pick it up and put it in and tamp it down. But I don't do that with some of my other stuff. But I enjoy this pipe. So, y'all have a good evening. I'll see you on the next one, Lord willing, because we are not promised tomorrow. Right? God bless. Stay safe. And light them up.